Release of volcanic rocks at a distance of up to 1 kilometer was also recorded.
At the same time, volcanic emissions of sulfur dioxide SO2 from the Cumbre Vieja volcano from the island of La Palma moved by air currents across Europe and reached the Urals. Watch in this episode.
On October 19th, severe storms passed in Queensland, Australia, bringing rains and giant hail. Individual hailstones reached a size of up to 16 centimeters and fell at a speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. Huge blocks of ice damaged cars, roofs, and facades of buildings. It is noted that this may be a new record for the size of hailstones in Australia. A breaking news reporter will tell us about other climate disasters in Australia and in Indonesia.
On October 15, 2021, a devastating earthquake struck Indonesia on the island of Bali. Its magnitude was 5.1. Hypocenter of seismic activity lay at a depth of about 10 kilometers. The earthquake affected the eastern part of the island, especially affecting residents of Bangli and Karangasem districts. Unfortunately, the disaster has led to the loss of life. In a hilly area, the forces of nature provoked landslide, as a result of which houses were destroyed and access to at least 3 villages was blocked. On the same day, a severe storm struck the state of New South Wales in Australia. Large hail, gale force winds with heavy rain and tornadoes hit the state capital Sydney and nearby cities. Buildings were destroyed, cars were overthrown, and power lines were damaged. The main impact of the disaster was on the city of Armidale, where more than half of homes were left without electricity due to broken power lines.
In the first half of October 2021, an unprecedented number of tornadoes were recorded in Oklahoma, USA. A report of breaking news from the United States will talk about this in more detail and continue the topic of natural disasters on the American continent.
Hello, this is a TV reporter from the United States. On October 10, 2021, residents of Oklahoma City faced severe storms. In the city of Norman, the storm brought large hails the size of baseballs. As a result, cars and storefronts of buildings were damaged. The storm also damaged the cities of Chickasaw and Carnegie. Over 11,000 families in the states were left without electricity. Fortunately, no one was injured. The city of Crowetta was hit by a powerful tornado. As a result, buildings were damaged, trees were felled, and schools were canceled. At least 10 tornadoes were also recorded in Oklahoma City. On October 12th through the 13th, severe storms passed through Oklahoma again. Roofs of buildings and power lines were damaged, along with hangars at Clinton Airport. On October 14th, 51 tornadoes were recorded in the state in 2021. 26 of them occurred in October. This is 11 times more than the monthly average for October. On October 17th, a powerful downpour with strong winds hit central Brazil and South America. The most affected was the city of Uberlândia, where flooding occurred. During the storm, trees were felled in some places, and the flood was so strong that it simply swept away cars.
We invite you to take part in the preparation of international online events within the framework of the conference Global Crisis – Time for the Truth, which will take place on December 4th, 2021. You can invite and record online interviews with experts from around the world, scientists, experts in the field of climate, ecology, and migration, as well as people who have become refugees. For more information, please contact us by email climate@creativesociety.com.
Today, our world is facing the greatest challenge of civilization. Destructive element.
Go get in the cellar! Go get in the cellar!
Abnormal cataclysm.
It's huge!
Sudden climatic disaster.
It's a tornado! Look at that! Of everything God!
Their numbers are skyrocketing and their power is irreversible.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
People are dying and cities are being destroyed. Why are we, all people, not coping with it? The official aim of international covenants and agreements is to curb climate change. But why does the climate continue to change at a catastrophic rate? Why is the global media silent about the scale of these threats? What diverts people's attention from these risks, environmental catastrophes, and an increase in CO2? To what environmental consequences has mindless consumerism led? What is the real cause of global climate change? Nothing is more important today than information about how our humanity can survive and save our planet. Now, it's time to tell the truth while we still have a chance to make a difference. December 4th, live broadcast, international online conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. 100 languages of simultaneous interpreting. Organized by volunteers from 180 countries. Truth purifies. Truth unites. Truth gives a chance to live. Join us. Global Crisis. Time for the Truth.
In each issue of Breaking News, eyewitnesses of climate disasters from around the world share information from the scene of events, what difficulties they had to face during and after the disaster, as well as their experiences. Later in the issue, an eyewitness, Anna from Mexico, will tell more about Hurricane Grace.
In general, it was such a record-breaking season. There was 31 phenomena that got a name. It is all-time record. This year so far, we have encountered one hurricane. It is Hurricane Grace, and it was a first-degree hurricane. Usually when there is hurricane, it gets in the water with such force, even through closed windows, that you have to put towels around everything, that is, to keep the water out of the house. Even though we live in a pretty nice neighborhood, we have good tight walls. We have 3 floors, and we are behind a tree line. This time, regarding Grace, the trajectory changed very quickly. Very quickly, it gained strength. As a result, the main line passed slightly lower than my city. That is, this line gradually decreased. What did we have? It was raining heavily. It was during almost the whole night. Heavy rain, strong wind. That is, you can feel it on the 3rd floor. It is like during an earthquake, when there is such instability. That is, all your windows are shaking. And of course, all appliances, power banks and batteries, flashlights, electric candles should be charged at home, because again, we don't know how long it will take to be without light. And a plastic bag with all the documents. Of course, they should all be photographed as well. That is, this is already our reality, to which we are actually accustomed. That is, you understand that if it suddenly comes to this, we have right here we are sitting. I have a window. This is my bedroom, and there is a school there. The school has been closed for almost 2 years due to the pandemic, but it is a shelter. That is, it is more equipped. If something happens, you take this backpack, this folder with children's documents, and in fact, go there if you are in trouble. And there are actually people who live in the frail buildings. And of course, they are the first being swept away. People are getting help. Food is brought to them. Some blankets and first aid items are brought to them. And of course, it's covered. We don't really know what is it, because in fact, we haven't received any information about casualties or injured people even in these 2 years. That is, it looks all beautiful. Everything is fine. I don't know how much it corresponds to the truth. Of course, I communicate with people and see information in social networks, and I know how I and my neighbors live, but at the same time, it is difficult for me to say how the locals really live. And of course, information leaks out that in these dilapidated houses especially often die children. But I don't have statistics, I can't talk about for sure. The most difficult thing that happens is water flooding. That is, not in our state but nearby. There was a lot of this news that year, when people couldn't get help because the forces of nature were still raging. We saw all these videos when they were standing on the roof. That is, their house, it turns out, was flooded. They are standing on the roof, and everything they can bring them, in fact, is to throw off some kind of humanitarian aid. But they cannot be taken out of there yet, because the forces of nature continue, and there is no such technical possibility. Algae is just an insane amount. That is, neither beaches nor even the most expensive hotels can cope with this amount. They put up barriers, but that doesn't help either. And this is the smell. It reduces the flow of tourists. We live by the sea, but we hardly go there, because in the summer you come, and I'm 165 centimeters tall, and the mountain of algae that they try to collect to clean the beach was as tall as me. I have never seen such a thing. That is, you never know. You can choose for yourself. It seems the safest place, but if we watch the news today, there are no safe places in the world. That is, in this sense, live today, appreciate what you have, and the most important thing is the attitude.
If you have witnessed climatic anomalies, send your videos to climate@creativesociety.com.
2 earthquakes near the town of Glogo occurred on October 16th and 17th, 2021 in Poland. The magnitude of the first was 4.3 and the second was 4.2. Both occurred at a depth of about 10 kilometers. There is no destruction.
On October 19th, a strong earthquake occurred in the Mediterranean Sea near the island of Carpathos, Greece, at a depth of more than 40 kilometers. The magnitude of the tremors, according to various data, ranged from 5.9 to 6.3. The residents of Israel and Egypt felt the fluctuations. The topic of natural disasters in Europe will be continued further by a reporter of breaking news from Hungary.
Hello, this is a reporter from Hungary. On the night of October 14, 2021, the western part of Hungary got covered with wet snow. The cold front that came earlier led to a drop in temperature below zero. The snowfall left a cover of 10 to 30 centimeters deep. Under the weight of the wet snow, trees broke, which falling tore electrical wires. Some roads were blocked due to bad weather conditions. This snowfall is considered very early in this area. On October 14, Greece was severely hit by the forces of nature. Due to severe storms and heavy rains caused by the storm Balas, floods started in the country. In Athens, the streets turned into gushing rivers. The first floors of hundreds of houses were flooded by water. Bad weather has seriously affected the operation of public transport and rail services. Road traffic on major national highways and city avenues had to be stopped. Dozens of cars and buses were flooded. Power outages were observed throughout the city. In the Athens suburb of near Philadelphia, students had to build a bridge using classroom desks to get out of a flooded school. The port of Thessaloniki, as well as the islands of Euboea and Corfu, were also severely affected by the flooding. From October 17 to 20, large-scale floods and landslides occurred in eastern and western parts of Nepal due to heavy rains. Unfortunately, casualties and missing people are reported. In total, 20 out of 77 districts were affected. Dozens of houses, several bridges, and rice fields were destroyed, as well as road communication was disrupted. The water level in several local rivers exceeded the dangerous mark. In some places, precipitation fell several times more than the monthly norm in just a day. The rainy season in Nepal lasts from June to September, so such showers are not typical for October. A reporter of breaking news from Vietnam will tell us about floods and landslides in other Asian countries.
Hello. On October 16th and 17th, 2021, torrential rains in Vietnam caused rivers to overflow, caused landslides, and turned streets into streams of water in several central provinces. In some places, violent streams of water knocked people off their feet and swept away cars. Some areas were isolated, and people had to be evacuated by boat. In the province of Tuat Hen Hue, more than 400 mm of precipitation were registered in 24 hours, which is more than a month's worth of rain of October. As a result, several residential areas were underwater. Unfortunately, there are missing people due to floods and landslides. On October 16th, in southern India, prolonged heavy rains caused landslides and widespread flooding. Sadly, dozens of people lost their lives. There are missing people. In Kerala, the Manimalaya River rose 7 meters in just 5 hours. Old-timers claim that they see such a flood of the river for the first time. This is the worst flooding here in the last 60 years. A red danger level has been declared for 5 districts in the state. Floodwaters destroyed and simply washed away roads, houses and buildings. Some towns and villages were cut off from the safe regions. People were fleeing from the rapid streams of stormy water on the roofs of houses. And some people perished in their homes after being swept away by the landslides. Brigades of military and local volunteers were sent to help the victims. Helicopters and boats were used to search and evacuate people. More than 180 temporary shelters have been deployed in various parts of the state. How many people in total were affected by the disaster is not reported. On October 17, residents of Telangana state observed an unusual phenomenon for this area, a water tornado. It originated at the lower Manyar Dam, located in the Manyar River. Although usually water tornadoes occur over the warm tropical water of the ocean, a similar phenomenon was last observed here about 5 years ago.
Climate disasters are a challenge for us and our planet. The Earth is our common home, which could become a protection and shelter from natural disasters. But what does it look like today? What have we done to our home to protect ourselves? What is its condition? Unfortunately, today the Earth is experiencing an ecological crisis, and it differs from the climate one in that it is caused by the activity of man himself.
Worldwide, 9 out of 10 people breathe polluted air. Such atmospheric air is one of the main threats to children's health. It causes every 10th case of death under the age of 5. World Health Organization estimates that air pollution kills more than 7 million people every year.
For thousands of years, humanity has been and continues to be consumer-oriented to the planet. As a result, we, humans, are not ready for global natural disasters caused by cyclical astronomical influence.
Sometimes it seems to us that all these climatic anomalies occur somewhere else, and it does not concern our lives. But the truth is that the number and the power of disasters is increasing every day, and their consequences affect the economic, political, and social spheres, as well as the security of every person.
In order to cope with the consequences of climate change, it is necessary to unite all people. It is important to direct the entire scientific potential of society to the study of the real causes of global climate change and the search for solutions to this problem.
Well, at least it was quite interesting what the scientists who deal with natural disasters said. They just said that what is happening now already happened in our history, and it's cyclicity, yes.
Cyclicity? Of course, cyclicity. But what is it caused by? Is it really global warming or something else? After all, cyclicity involves not only warming, but also cooling, as well as many other things. All these changes. And it's not about the fact that temperature has risen, as they say, in the world ocean, and that stopped the Gulf Stream. No, guys, we studied physics, didn't we? If temperature rises, it would speed up the Gulf Stream. Well, that's true. Rising warm water and lowering cold water would speed up circulation. I mean, when does the Gulf Stream start its movement? Let's take a look. In fact, from 12,000 years to 11,000 years, it didn't function, and then 11,000 years ago it started its movement. It was there for almost 1,000 years. Why? Because it got warmer, and it was gaining speed when it was getting warmer, while now it got warmer, got mixed up, and it is stopping. No, my friends, not at all. It's just that what is taking place in the center of our planet, inside it, is causing all these changes. Warming comes from there, not due to sunshine or a lot of CO2. At the conference Global Crisis, this already affects everyone. Experts, scientists have given facts about the causes of climate change, as well as the cause and effect relationships of the current crisis that everyone should know about. After all, our future depends on this knowledge.
Excerpt from the International Conference Global Crisis. This already affects everyone.
Humanity is standing on the brink of an abyss. If we, humans, do not change the world today, then tomorrow, when the planet is dying, we will realize that the world should have been changed. But we will not be able to do anything about it at that point.
Now you have probably a question. Why is this all happening? Why are the cataclysms increasing? The reason is that our planet has a cycle. a cycle of cataclysms. Every 12,000 years, cataclysms occur on the planet. And now we are entering the active phase of this cycle. Why haven't you heard about it yet? Why isn't it taught in school?
We are not told that the glaciers are melting from the bottom up because of the intense release of heat from the Earth's interior. For example, Antarctica is only melting on the west side, where there is a huge magma chamber. Greenland's glaciers are shrinking for a similar reason. Obviously, man has no influence on what is happening.
As the permafrost melts, and until recently, 24% of the northern hemisphere was covered in permafrost. People don't get how big this Arctic region is. The problem with methane is that the difference between methane and carbon is the warming from methane is almost instantaneous. Whatever methane gets released within weeks, that warming will be felt in the atmosphere. And the main danger that poses is for crops. What people don't get is non-linearity in the climate system.
Now, in 2019, though, a NASA study was published in an authoritative scientific journal called Nature. It argues that changes in the tilt of the Earth's axis and the orbit of our planet's rotation may be to blame for the warming climate. So what then? Are the quotas paid for from the country's budgets, which we fund? NASA itself has said that the Earth's orbit is to blame, not people. So is the UN, for that money paid into the Green Climate Fund, going to put the Earth orbit back into place so that the temperature doesn't increase? Let's think about that for a second. In addition, according to the World Meteorological Organization, CO2 remains in the atmosphere and oceans for centuries. It means that the world is doomed to permanent climate change regardless of any temporary reduction in emissions.
Just imagine, if we do understand this, but it will be too late to change anything. It means we will lose. We will lose our lives and the lives of those whom we love. Today, we, as the participants of ALLATRA movement and the Creative Society project, we often hear. We see how important this is for you. You are so motivated. But let me ask you a question. Is it not important to you as well?
Watch the full version of the conference, Global Crisis, This Already Affects Everyone, on allatra.tv and allatraunites.com websites.
Preservation of humanity, peaceful, safe conditions on the whole planet, clean air, rational, careful use of resources, cleaning the planet of garbage.
The absence of crisis and fair, honest and equal relationships, providing each person with all basic needs, food, water, shelter and clothing, high-quality medical care and education for every person,
unlimited development opportunities, and much more become possible when we all unite in one goal: to ensure and guarantee the value of each person's life, when we combine our potential in creating a creative society.
You can learn more about the Creative Society on the website creativesociety.com. Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on the Creative Society channel.